The answer is yes. I am completely unprepared for this. Completely unprepared. But that's okay, because sometimes preparation isn't the key. Sometimes it's just better to let it flow, you know? I named this title for a reason, though. I'm going to get into that reason. And I talked about, I actually left the community post last Sunday while I was at church relating to the lyrics of a song that they were playing. And the lyrics were mentioning something that bothers me and has always bothered me to this day regarding this particular religion. And there's another thing that bothers me. And these two things can be discussed for hours. Have I talked about them before? Probably. I have like 750 videos uploaded now. So chances are good that things repeat themselves, but some things need to be repeated. Okay. But I am going to wait a little bit, see if anyone shows up. So, what's been going on lately, though? Nothing out of the ordinary at all. Actually, the messages have dwindled down to almost nothing. Just the usual scammers have come back. Nothing unusual in terms of the people claiming to be soldiers or anything of that nature. Just the usual people with 3 brain cells who have like an IQ of 25 and they think that I'm that dumb, apparently. Just things like that. Hey, what's up, Loyalty? What's up, Jack? It's going. I don't know where it's going. I have no idea. All I know is that it's almost September, and I thought this year just started, so I don't know what's up with that. Now it's almost over again. I don't know what to think about that. So, yeah, the fainting and the dizziness has stopped at work. The strange behavior has stopped. My visions, my revelations, pineal gland insights, whatever you want to call them, are gone completely. Nothing at all. Just a few of those strange dreams that I already talked about. So everything just feels like it's in a sort of stasis, like it's in this like void right now. I feel like I'm in a mental void, but it's not necessarily a negative mental void either. It's neither bad nor good. I don't really know how to explain it. There is a sense of equilibrium, though, which I think is good, which I don't normally have. Things feel a little bit more balanced than usual. So I think that's a positive sign. I saw the Anne Heche video and it made me remember some strange dreams and stuff surrounding my NDE that I repressed. That's interesting how she caused your memories to come up like that. Um, could you describe what specifically? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to ask the religious questions, but there was a couple of NDEs I wanted to talk about during the stream as well that I was supposed to talk about a while ago. And I've seen some really strange ones lately, guys. Speaking of which, remember the pod people I'm talking about? Just the other day, hey, how's it going? I saw an NDE where a lady claimed to have died. I will share it if you guys want. Is Jeff Mara. I've been on his podcast. and she woke up in a silver pod, and she saw her real body, and she had the head of a lion. Okay. And I thought, okay, that's an alien in suspended animation. There's so many incarnates like that here. I'm like, she thinks that's super unique, but it's not as unique as you think. The fact that she's a lion alien, it maybe is a little bit unique. I thought that was interesting. But what she claimed, though, was super bizarre. Okay, so she said that when she woke up from this pod, that she claims that she was on a spaceship, and that the Earth she was just on was a simulation inside of that spaceship. Lyrians, there you go. Lyrians, yep. I'm familiar. Yes. And immediately the first thing that came to mind when she said that, I'm going to share this ND in the community post, okay? And as a matter of fact, I'm going to change the title of the stream to add the NDE to it, so we don't just talk about religion alone. Okay, my Earth, we called them the Haydens. Interesting. So she's on a ship with these advanced aliens who are saying the Earth is a simulation, that the real one was destroyed, and that they're learning and growing through the simulation because this spaceship is on the way to another planet. Now, is that a trip or what? A real planet where they won't be in a simulation. The first thing that came to mind was the movie Dark City, because that's kind of what that movie's about. You have a group of aliens that are on a spaceship controlling a bunch of humans that think they're on a planet, but in fact they're in a sort of like simulation. And guess what they do to these humans? They change their surroundings. They wipe their memory. How do they wipe their memory? By vaccines. If you guys never seen that movie, it's a trip. And so these aliens are experimenting and seeing how these humans would react in these different environments that they would alter without the humans having remembered what happened. And so one guy figures this out, right? And he tries to help everyone escape from this kind of imprisoned reality that they're in. And it's not quite the same as this woman's near-death experience, but there's a similar concept here. And this is super interesting. I mean, I don't know what to think of it. Like, there's so much variety in these experiences, so much, including my own, which is quite different than many that I've heard too. And it's like, how do you reconcile all those differences? Hayden's, I like that though. Yeah. So so what was that? Before I get into more of the NDEs though, I want to get into the question, the controversial question of this song they were singing about how give me a second here. Defeating sin. Okay, so they're singing about Jesus coming down and defeating sin and defeating death. Confusing as hell to me. What exactly was defeated here? Okay, so what was going on before Jesus? People just died and there was no heaven and hell? Or because, in Jewish tradition, they don't really have much of a concept of hell. A lot of people don't even know that. Okay, or heaven for that matter. So what are they? Do they even know what they're singing about? They're singing about how he came down and defeated death. He defeated his own death by resurrecting, perhaps. Okay, but that's just his own death. How did he defeat death overall? By giving us eternal life? there's something missing in this idea here, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know what you guys think, but to me, death and sin have clearly not been defeated. Okay, because sinners who become Christians continue to sin. Okay, they did not defeat sin, nor did they defeat death, since the death will come like anyone else on this planet. And then people like us who understand that we are eternal and probably have always been eternal. What exactly was necessary here to be defeated? There's something missing here. Okay, and another thing, of course, the number one thing that is most troublesome to me, it always goes back to the same thing, doesn't it? That I talk about time and time again, over and over. And that's the idea of the blood sacrifice. So why am I talking about this to begin with? Well, it's because I'm sort of progressing from my video a couple of weeks back about people's belief systems, right? And how so many are so adamant that I must follow theirs. And the reason why, hey, Angel. So we're just talking about, Angel, we're just talking about what does it mean when the Christian community talks about defeating sin and death. And if you are Christian, I would love you to answer this. Maybe I'm missing something here. Maybe I'm misunderstanding something, because clearly to me, sin and death have not been defeated. And that's why I was talking about in my visions of Horus and Osiris and Lilith, about to me, what I was seeing is that they actually made a bet with Jesus to see if he could restore the crystal tree of life. And he did not, but he did get the quote unquote keys to the black hole hell that they created when they destroyed the crystal garden. So in a sense, he did sort of defeat death by eventually closing the black hole that these demon creatures created. So interestingly, Muslims believe Jesus wasn't sacrificed at all. They think he ascended to heaven without. Oh, that's right, they do. They think he ascended to heaven without dying. To me, sin is an actual entity that I'm pretty much fighting with all the time. It is. Oh, no doubt. I think it's Lilith, actually. I think sin is Lilith. Evil, yeah. I mean, I understand where you're coming from, Angel, because that's what I was going to talk about next. The whole blood sacrifice notion, right? Which, again, I feel like I'm a broken record having to repeat that a million times. But when I was on church on Sunday, I was talking about this or thinking about this a lot. So we're going to talk about this for a little bit, and then we'll go back to the near-death experiences. And I'm also reading a book, actually, Nancy Rhines, who is a pretty well-known NDer. She had a really unique experience too, actually. Sorry, I'm so all over the place tonight, but just got a lot on my mind here. Take the commas and the periods out of the Bible, and it reads very differently. It told me its name is dosa. Oh, that's interesting. Dosa translates to sin from what language? I remember seeing Nancy on Love Car Life. Oh, she's great. Yeah. Oh, she's fantastic. Such a unique NDE too. Like, I've not seen many like hers, where she had like the most beautiful guide like I've ever seen, probably. Like, the description of her guide was unreal. In Hindi, okay. Wow, that's interesting. Yeah, I totally believe it probably most likely is a real entity, just like a lot of these Hindu gods and ancient gods, and Moloch for that matter, right? Like in the dream that I believe was Moloch, also happens to be real. I mean, why would they not be real? I mean, did the ancient people really just make them up? Because they were so bored, so they just had this overactive imagination. We're like, oh, we're gonna like dance around this fire, and we're gonna come up with this weird, bizarre creature with 8 arms. Or maybe that creature somehow presented itself to them mentally. I'm not saying necessarily physically. Maybe in a drug-induced state, it's still a state, okay? And as many of you know, people who take ayahuasca, for example, they often see the same entities coming to them. So how do you have such a bizarre shared hallucination like that, where people of all walks of life who don't know each other seem to run into the same beings when they take ayahuasca? Okay, so that's kind of the same idea with these ancient gods, I think. I don't think that they just came out of somebody's butt, you know? Remember that WikiLeaks email to Hillary Clinton about sacrificing a chicken to Moloch? No, I absolutely don't remember that. Unreal. Really? You're seriously blowing me away right now. Wow. That is very disturbing. Very disturbing. I'm glad, I mean, sorry for the chicken, but I'm glad at least it wasn't human. Unlike what I was seeing in my dream, which were clearly humans that were being sacrificed for him. Honor all aspects. Absolutely, Angel. Absolutely. Yeah, so let's talk about this other the thing that bothers me. The number one thing that bothers me about this particular faith. And it's not just the blood sacrifice, though. It's more than just the blood sacrifice. Communion. Okay, communion bothers me a lot. Every time I was kind of forced into doing communion my whole life, most of my life, I just come over there and casually drink the blood and eat the flesh, and it's no big deal. You're just drinking blood and eating flesh, like whatever. But it's Jesus's blood. Okay? You're still drinking blood and eating flesh of a man, of a God man. Okay, here's where we come to this philosophical place right now. Is there really a big difference if you're symbolically cannibalizing someone or literally? Obviously, there is a huge difference if you were to go out there, murder somebody, and then eat their flesh, as opposed to just symbolically doing the fake stuff. There is an obvious gap in the difference there. What I'm talking about is mentally, spiritually, internally. Is it really all that different? So what the hell does it mean? What was Jesus talking about? When I was watching the movie Jesus of Nazareth, I saw it many times as a kid. It was actually one of my favorite movies, which is odd. I had this wide range of movies, from like total insanity to like, okay, I'll give you a list of what my favorite movies were as a kid. They're like not connected to each other. Jesus of Nazareth, Terminator 2, Beauty and the Beast, RoboCop. So like action and Disney and all this weird stuff, like Aladdin was in there. It's like this mix of stuff, right? Communion always bothered and distressed me growing up. I think we need rather eat from the bowls and as children. Yeah. Some people believe communion is literal. Can you explain, Jack? Like communion is literal? Okay, so just think about it. Like, just visualize this in your head, how absolutely pagan this is. Okay, since a lot of these modern faiths claim to be against paganism, right? And here they are. Here's the priest. He's holding a cup of blood, symbolic blood, of course. It's symbolic. He's holding the cup of blood in front of your face, screaming to you he's not pagan. And then he's coming to you and asking you to drink the blood And then he gives you the bread so that you can eat the flesh. Not pagan. There's no blood sacrifice ritual here, nothing like that. It's just normal. It's just normal. Just like sin and death were defeated, even though there's more sin and death on earth than there's ever been. We're like in this apocalyptic wasteland that we're turning into, in this freaking hellscape of a planet that's unrecognizable. Okay. And sin and death were somehow defeated. I don't know, guys. It's confusing. RoboCop. Yeah, RoboCop was one of my favorites for sure. Loved all those movies as a kid. Why my dad let me watch them when I was like 5, I don't know. But here's an example of in Revelations. The scroll is taken from the lion because the lamb is the worthy one. Interesting. I mean, they believe they're literally eating his flesh. Then some. Oh, yeah. Right. Literally eating the flesh. So, okay. So here's my question, though. Was this some kind of misinterpretation from, well, because I do believe Christ existed. I do. Okay. Do you think that his words were twisted and later on something was added to make it more into a ritual like that? Or do you think like he actually sat there with the disciples and was like, hey, eat my flesh and drink my blood and you'll gain power from it? Or because that's exactly what like the movie Jesus of Nazareth implied. Go watch that scene yourself. He's sitting there. Robert Powell is sitting there and he's handing out bread and he's handing out the cups of wine and he's like, drink this. And it's a powerful scene in the movie. Okay. It's a powerful scene. It's so confusing. It's very strange. It's so strange. It's actually very reptilian. And I doubt that Yeshua would have ever endorsed that. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm trying to say. Like where the words twisted, what was it supposed to be something else? It's a mess. I mean, it's a mess. What's a mess is that people seem to think it's normal. And you know what else is odd? Is that this church that we've been going to, I've never seen them do communion. Never. Which makes no sense to me because I've never been to a church that has never, every church I've gone to has done communion. I used to go to this Russian church that literally would do it every Sunday or like every other Sunday. And it would be this big deal. Like they would spend long periods of time preparing for this communion. It was taken very seriously. And I'm trying not to be judgmental here. Okay, I'm trying. Like, I'm not like trying to say and like, I'm just saying like this is weird. Okay. But I think loyalty is making a good point here is that there's some kind of reptilian component because it feels very cold-blooded, right? It feels very cold. Reptilians make hybrids stronger by having them ingest blood and makes them less human and more reptilian. Right. Like the reptilian side of our brain, right? Remember how Obama went on some talk show and he was talking about just that. He was talking about the reptilian side of our brain. They've never done communion while you're a congregant. Then they just busted it out. Who's they? The Russian church or the current church I go to? I don't know. I mean, maybe they just do it once in a blue moon or something like that. Honestly, like I don't know. Oh, current. It's just a regular like evangelical church. So there's no reason why they wouldn't do communion. Again, like I go there most Sundays, but not every single one. So maybe I missed one. Honestly, I don't know. It's just odd to me that, I mean, we've been going there for like 2 years and I've never seen a communion there. A good father would not ask his son to die for him. Well, and then there's the precursor to that too, Angel, right? Because there was Abraham and Isaac too. Um, and what's strange about that story was that when Abraham was about to sacrifice his son, an angel, like your name, stopped him from doing so. But yet he didn't stop Jesus. And that just brings out this gigantic can of worms that I can't even comprehend. It's like, what kind of mind boggler is this? It's like, how do you explain this? Would C19 have been a reason to suspend the ritual? Possibly. Because you know how things are here in California. They made everything shut down, and yeah. I mean, there's still places where you're forced to wear masks and stuff, including where I work and a bunch of other places. And yeah, the whole concept of the lamb symbol is very weird to me. Why do innocent beings need to be sacrificed in order for sins to be forgiven? Yeah, that's a great point. Because Jesus isn't the Son, Angel says. Huh. That's exactly right, though, Jack. Because that's exactly what the Jews had to do in the Old Testament to absolve themselves of sin. They literally had to go to the temple and they had to spill the blood of an animal, right? To absolve them of. Speaking of sin, and when we're talking about sin here, ladies and gentlemen, we're talking about 600 something Jewish laws that had to be followed. I'm not talking about like just murder or whatever here. I mean, these are strict guidelines to living that you couldn't break, and that some Orthodox Jews still subscribe to this day, by the way. And I wonder if YouTube is going to allow me to keep talking about Jews. The reptilians did try to hijack the human mind, but our frontal lobes expanded and it tends to override the primal reptilian part of the brain. Interesting. Well, that's good. I mean, do you think that they're trying to hijack it again with these so-called crystals in the brain, the magnetic crystals we have now? That kind of makes me wonder if that's part of the whole trying to interject with a natural evolution again by suppressing it, perhaps. The wolf lays with the lamb because he takes only what he needs. Shepherds fleece them all their lives, then lead them to the slaughter. Wolf is far more noble. The wolf is wise, right? So the wolf has wisdom. That's the symbology of a wolf, right? But the lambs, they're not the smartest animals in the world, right? I mean, it's just being honest here. And neither are goats. Now, I've always tried to figure out what the distinction is between the lamb and the goat. Perhaps a goat is like a secular representation of the same sort of damn it, what am I saying? The same sort of brain fart. Okay, so the goat is like a secular aspect of ignorance. Secular aspect of ignorance, where the person is still blind, but they're not part of a religious order. That's a goat. A sheep or a lamb is an ignorant person that is part of a religious order. That's no judgment to anyone who's religious here. That's just what I think it means. Because there is definitely a distinction, even in iPad Go 2, between the lambs and the goats. Okay. That's interesting. It's the alpha. Yeah, the wolf. There's an alpha in the pack of wolves. Yeah, he leads them. So yeah, it's considered to be like a leader, right? A leadership qualities. Yep. Interesting indeed. Wow, so mind-boggling. I don't even know what to say. I think we're gonna move on to this NDE real quick before my brain explodes about trying to figure out why so much blood is needed to absolve ourselves. It just makes no sense. Yes, they're trying to hijack with a variety of different things, including implants and gain of function and neural implantation through you know what. Yep. I mean, it makes sense. That's exactly what's trying to be done. Okay. Let's see if that ties into this bizarre timeline. Now that we're switching subjects a little bit, this lady talks about actually meeting Jesus in her NDE now that we're on him. Okay, so there's two. I've watched a bunch of ones about the future, and the one common denominator, as I've talked about before, was that 98% of them had World War III included in their future visions, which I thought was extremely concerning because I didn't think it would be that many people seeing essentially the same outcome. And just different ways of how it starts, though. That's the thing. So one of them, one NDE, this guy was saying that World War III starts when North and South Korea become united into one country again. And I'm like, what? When in the hell is that going to happen? Okay, the only way I see that happening is if the South defeats the North. Okay, which actually they're training for, by the way. There was a massive military drill in South Korea conducted just recently, training to take out Kim Jong-un and the North Korean army. So is it possible? Totally. Is it going to happen overnight? No, not a chance. I mean, Korea's unifying. I mean, they're polar opposites of each other. They're not what they were 100 years ago, right? One Korea. I don't think so. But he said, okay, this guy said that the Koreas will unite. And something happens to where someone launches the nukes after that for whatever reason. Maybe that is theirs, but mine is truth being exposed. Maybe we'll be in different realities. Exactly, Angel. Yep. So I don't know what you guys think about the Korea thing. I don't know. This lady had a very different one. She's saying that in 2020, okay, so she died like in 2013 in her NDE. And she said that she saw Donald Trump, which is interesting. Actually, that was before he was elected. And she said that he's going to get reelected later on. But before I get into that, she said that in 2024, all the global banking systems will collapse and that there will be a digital currency, which, duh. I mean, everybody sees that coming, right? Assuming the whole Horus birth thing doesn't happen, that's what you will expect, right? It's pretty obvious. And she said that, but there's a catch. They're going to implement their electronic grid. And in 2028, Donald Trump is going to come back and he's going to get reelected as president. And he's going to get rid of that system. Okay? And he's going to implement yet a new system. So just in the span of a few years, we're going to have 3 different systems. Okay? Whatever he's going to start, I don't know what it is. 2028. Then she said in 2040, the US will split in two different countries, between the North and the South. Okay. And she said there will be no civil war, that they'll just vote on it and split. And I'm like, huh. Okay. And then all the way in 2063, 20 freaking 63, the US is destroyed and invaded by China and taken over. China then unites Canada and Mexico and the US into one country in 2063. In between all this time, between now and 2063, this lady says there will be multiple world wars. Multiple. Finally culminating in the last one when China invades the US 40 years from now. Plausible? Here's what I think is not plausible. A house divided will not stand. I agree, but I don't think it'll last till 2040, Angel. I get that's only 18 years from now, but still, it just doesn't seem like it'll last that long. That's the whole problem with this timeline too. And then the re-election of Trump. Now, it seems like they're going to do everything humanly possible not to have that happen, as you guys could probably see what's going on. And imagining him being reelected in 2028, it just seems super unlikely. I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible. Assuming the world is just going to chug along, which also seems unlikely given the absolute insanity taking place with the droughts and the wars and all this insanity. We have to assume that the world is just going to chug along normally till 2028, right? With a new banking system, of course, with the digital currency. I don't know what to think. I guess we'll find out. I mean, it's interesting. What I'm trying to figure out is that she was specifically shown 70 years into the future. Why 70? I don't know. The way she died was really terrible, actually. Her husband killed himself, her kids, and her, shot them all. But she survived. And Jesus told her, that she's going to live. I guess that's why he said 7, because she's going to live another 70 years maybe, or something like that. But she was protesting, saying she doesn't want to come back because she doesn't want to be without her kids, right? So this bizarre future, though, that's like one of the strangest ones I've ever heard. Now, the only thing in common with that one, with the other ones, was the World War, except this one had the multiple World Wars. Obviously, there's going to be nothing normal with multiple World Wars. That can't possibly be normal. October 14, 2023 is D-Day for me. Interesting. I'm kind of a little bit on April 8th, 2024. Still, I think there might be something there. I guess we'll see with yours. Just something about 2024 stands out to me. I don't know what it is, but I feel like it's some kind of dividing line between two. Like you just said, a house divided. Like this is another dividing line, I think. Grim Reaper, everyone sees him at death. That's interesting. Wow, I never even thought of that. Everyone sees him at death. I don't know about everyone, because I didn't see him. Well, when I died, I did not see him at all. Nothing, anything indicating Jesus was anywhere near me. I see us all getting hit with the energy and transforming into another form. Oh, I hope so. I hope that form is really kick-ass, though. I don't want some lame form. I want some really, some superhero stuff. I didn't know it was hell. Wow. That's something. Yeah, obviously there's something wrong here, right? There's something wrong. All right, I'll go on for 5 more minutes, guys, and I don't know what to think about any of this stuff. Honestly, it's just my brain is like it's like pudding, you know. Jesus said next time he returns with a sword, right? Okay. So you think he'll be responsible for the multiple world wars, assuming that that particular future will come true? Um, can you guys just sit here and imagine Trump returning in 2028? I mean, he's going to be like 80 years old by then. First of all, just keep that in mind. 80 freaking years old at least. Now, granted, he's a lot more sharp-minded than our nursing home resident that we have in office right now, who I don't know how it's possible he's even there. I'm not saying Trump won't be sharp at 80. I'm just saying like he'll be old as hell. Like that's old. Okay. Uh, yeah, the nursing home resident right now is I mean, Parkinson's is one hell of a disease. I don't know what to tell you. I saw myself teaching people how to levitate. It was awesome. Oh, that does sound awesome. That sounds very awesome. Uh, do I think Trump is the Antichrist? Do I think so? No. Well, okay. I think the Antichrist is, I've talked about this in my videos, right? I think it's the resurrection of the Egyptian god Horus. Okay. Whether Trump has some sort of connection to him or not, I don't know. Or I think Obama is like the symbolic representation of Horus's father, Osiris. So I think this Antichrist will be a literal resurrection and a birthing onto the earth from. You don't think so because he's not attractive? Trump is not attractive. Oh, okay. I guess the Antichrist is supposed to be attractive, I guess, right? Well, that's the thing. I've seen that in visions and dreams. But okay, look, the attraction is unnatural though. All right, it's some kind of weird pheromone. I don't like saying that word because it implies like bugs or something, but it's some kind of hypnotic like scent or something that people will be like mesmerized by. That's what I was seeing. And it's not necessarily his physical looks because the physical looks, he looked like he was malformed and like almost like, well, I don't want to say the improper words here, the word that starts with an R. Anyway, yeah, so the attraction is like a scent and a hypnotic thing, not a visual thing, is what I'm saying. Um, but I don't know. Trump, I don't think he is. I doubt it. I think Trump is just Trump. Of course, he definitely has some connection to the bloodlines and all that stuff for sure. Like he wouldn't be where he is without that attractive entity. I guess we'll see. I mean, I don't know. I mean, the most plausible thing about this lady's future that she described is obviously the banking system. Okay, this is clear as day that we're in a train wreck right now, and the whole fiat currency system is going to implode. That's obvious. Anyone can see that. Anyone with any brains can see that. Okay, that this system is not going to last. I'm shocked it's even gone on this long. Actually, it's shocking. What lady? Who's the lady again? In the spiritual realm, he looks how? He looked like a gimp. I don't know. Like he kind of looked like the Pedgo 2 Jesus, just very thin and frail. Thinner and frail than that figure in the cartoon. And he almost looked like he was like sleepy or hypnotized himself, like speaking very strangely. Like he looked like he was kind of like, okay, Osiris and Isis are brother and sister, and they're husband and wife. So imagine a child born from a brother and sister. Okay, they're gonna have some defects. The person looked like he had defects, is what I'm saying. Like he wasn't normal. Like he looked ancient. Yes, he looked very ancient and old, but he looked very odd. Something wasn't right with him. Okay. On that note, let's just meditate on what we talked about and end it right here. And thank you, everyone, for being on. And I will see you all soon. Goodbye.